So, I finally got around to playing Pokemon Black 2, now that I've got a new laptop that can actually run Desume without crashing, so yeah, that's really good. I would say Gen 5 is probably my favourite generation, and I was really excited about especially playing Pokemon Black 2, especially because it's got a challenge mode and a lot of improvements in general. I thought even though it's a vanilla game, it's probably the hardest one, so I think doing an extra Hardcore Nuzlocke completely blind would actually make it challenging enough while also being really fun. So this is still pretty hard even though it's a vanilla game. So I'm basically using standard Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, except I'm going to make this a little bit harder. The main restriction is that the level caps will be still in place, but sometimes I do occasionally go below the level caps just to make things harder. But the main restriction of this Nuzlocke is that for all the gym leaders, I limit myself to only challenging them with 4 Pokemon. So for the first gym leader all the way to the 8th one, I can only have 4 mons in my party when I challenge them. And that's going to be surprisingly hard, especially because I'm blind. Playing only 4 versus 4 for the most part makes it so much harder, especially because you don't have knowledge. It makes the battles a lot more RNG dependent and a lot more reliant on not getting unlucky. Because in something like Renegade Platinum, for example, when it's 6 versus 6, if you lose one Pokemon or have one bad play and you get like punished for it, it's okay because you've got 5 other mons to potentially back you up. But in 4 versus 4, you've only got 3 other mons, and you might need a specific mon to counter something, and you've got a lot less room to maneuver. And especially because you don't know what to expect, it becomes a lot more RNG dependent. So I do prefer 6 versus 6, but this is interesting. The thing is, most people, they accept level caps, but they don't really think about party size cap, because reality is, in a lot of these base games when the gym leader only has 2 Pokemon and one of them is significantly below the level cap, challenging them with like 6 Pokemon that are at the level cap makes them really easy. Like Brock has a level 12 and a level 14, so challenging him with 6 level 14 that are edged up to level 15 really isn't that challenging. So, well, obviously I just need to say that yes, this is on challenged mode difficulty, which does make it quite a bit harder. I had to use a action replay code to unlock challenge mode from the get-go, so yeah, no need for this stupid post-game trading nonsense. And I choose Snivy as my starter just because it's a good defensive mon and I would like that. Now, even though I'm blind, I will say I did lose my very first attempt to the first gym leader, so this is technically my second attempt, but I didn't get very far in that attempt anyways. The first gym leader in this game is probably one of the hardest gym leaders in any base Pokemon game that I've played, honestly. It's probably the most RNG reliant for a Nuzlocke. Mainly because, especially as Lillipup, his team relies on a 50 base power move, which is pretty good for that point in the game, with perfect IVs, Oran Berries, and boosting moves, which is insane for that part of the game. Being able to take the first gym leader in a Hardcore Nuzlocke becomes really RNG reliant, especially because you can only get 3 encounters before that, so you have to have the right encounters to even have a chance of being able to beat him anywhere nearly consistently. If you, for example, encounter Purloin, Sunkern, and Pidove, you're most likely screwed and have to reset straight away. You can get Riolu if you're lucky, and if you get Purloin in the first route, you're in a bad spot, but there are ways that you can beat him. You don't need to get the best encounters, but there are ways around it. So, with Snivy, my first 3 encounters were Patrat, Swadleaf, and Azurill. The Azurill, it's huge power, but it's modest nature, but its IVs are actually... Remember, for a Pokemon with a relatively low base stat, like Azurill has really low attack, even with huge power, the IVs and EVs are far more important than nature, so modest nature isn't a big issue. And the fact its IVs are good make its attack strong enough. The good thing especially is that though the grinding for the first gym is absolutely horrendous, which is like my only real issue with this game, the fact that you're gaining so many HP and so many attack EVs really pumps up Azurill's attack, so that's good. And I could have actually gotten Marl for the first gym, but I wasn't keeping track of friendship. So with these 3 encounters, I've actually got a way to beat the first gym leader. Swadleaf is also good because it's got really good attack and defense for that part of the game. It can potentially outspeed his lower level mons, and Bug Bite is just a really good move for that part. So I battle the first gym leader, and my strategy is lead off with Azurill, and it's a similar strategy that's been used in Emerald Kaizo, but just spam Charm. Azurill, it's got a decent enough defense just for that part, and just charm the Patrat. And that's really good play. It gives you a lot of advantage in momentum because the Patrat will set up the +1, but you'll punish it by going -2 on it. So the turn ends and it's basically at -1, so you've basically just gained free advantage. And you can keep doing it until its attack is really low, and that will make the AI keep spamming work up just to play around that. Now, I could have played around this a bit better, but I probably should have used more charms, but I just went into Snivy and I started spamming growth. I think I only used it 2 times, then I beat the first one with Vine Whip. Snivy, though it can set up and it's fast and it's got good defenses, Vine Whip just isn't strong, and I should have set it more. Because of that, the Lillipup was a big threat, and it had the Orange Berry, and it could have probably taken out my Snivy with a critical hit, so that did get dicey. I probably should have set it more, or maybe I should have used Swadleaf, as that would have probably dealt enough damage to easily handle the Lillipup. But yeah, the last Nuzlocke, I never even got to this part, so this is all new to me, is a P-Dove, and I was scared of this. I know that it doesn't get any good physical flying moves, which is really dumb, but I still don't want to take a Gust. Swadleaf does not want to take a Gust. And it starts setting up, so luckily it only uses physical attacks, so Azurill can debuff it to all hell, then Patrat can handle it, though it was pretty dicey. So that's the first gym leader done. And yeah, it's surprisingly hard, which is really refreshing for a base game. But now it's time to move on to the second gym, and the weird thing is that at this point, there's only one more encounter, which is really weird. The game gives you a surprisingly low amount of encounters early on. But unfortunately, my first tragedy struck. This Riolu had counter and one-shotted my Swadleaf. I probably could have played around that, but I kind of misplayed there, but that was pretty annoying, but whatever. To be honest, Swadleaf has awful defensive typing, so it's not going to be that valuable for a Nuzlocke anyways. And also, like, now that I've got Servine, I was a bit anxious about the second gym because I don't really have much for it. I do have a Azumarill now, which is incredibly powerful at this point in the game. It's so strong. And for my final encounter before the second gym, the only encounter is Magby. This is kind of a strange one. At first I was a bit disappointed, but I actually like this thing. It ended up being good, very good. Magnemar ended up being a major player in this entire run, which is really surprising. I also like it just because it reminds me of Fire Red Omega. So yeah, even if you like Magby, is really good. Despite that, and it is useful against the first gym, its stats are just good enough to be useful, and it's good for other parts of the game as well. So yeah, I get my whole team up to level 19. I could have gone below the level cap, but I had no idea what to expect, and Servine wasn't very useful, so I was a bit anxious. I didn't want to let my guard down like I did on my first try against the first gym leader, so yeah. However, this ended up not being an issue. The first gym leader was kind of a pushover. Level cap was level 19, so I couldn't get Watchog, but Return still dealt a good amount of damage, even though my Patrat could have been in trouble if it got hit by a critical hit. Magby can then put in some work, and then Azumarill just destroys the rest. No problem. Azumarill at this point is insane, and its attack, EVs and IVs are so good that even though it's modest, its attack is really catching up to its special attack, so yeah. Huge power Azumarill, just keep in mind that Nature's is by no means the be-all end-all. Even modest Nature doesn't make a humongous difference, it really doesn't. If you EV train it, that will more than make up for it. In early game, Azumarill is a major player no matter what, even if it's got thick fat really. So now it's time to prepare for the third gym, and I really don't have that many encounters until that point. So I carry on, I evolve a few mons, and the main things I catch before the next gym, I know it's going to be bug types, but But in the sewers I catch a Rattata, and that is good. Especially because it's got guts, and as you may know, guts is just insane in base games. Because you can really abuse it, so that is really nice. Then, in the next cave area, I catch a Timber, which is going to be really nice because it allows me to get Girder for the second gym. And Girder's really strong at this point in the game, especially now that I've got access to Eviolite, so that's going to be really nice. And the final encounter I get for the next gym is a Pidove, so that's okay for Barra. Like, Tranquil's fine, the problem is it's not that bulky and it only has special attacking flying moves, which is really obnoxious, even though it's clearly a physical attacker, so that's pretty dumb. But with that, I prepare for the third gym and I go in and actually lower the level cap a little bit. I was really confident about this. So now that I've got quite a few Pokemon now, I have to pick 4 to challenge the next gym leader. And the 4 Pokemon that I pick are Azumarill, Tranquil, Eviolite Magby, and Girder. I am blind at this point in the game, but I know that this gym leader most likely has the Rock Bug thing, the pre-evolution, and Leavanny, so Eviolite Magby will be there to handle it. So I expected Barra to lead off with the Rock Bug typing, so I led off with Azumarill just for that, and Azumarill completely destroys unevolved Pokemons, but the Leavanny was when things started to get really dicey. That thing was a lot more threatening than I anticipated. I switched into Magby, but it had Grass Whistle and it hit. Yikes. Now, I made a misplay here. Magby could have easily handled this Leavanny with Eviolite because its stats are pretty good. But I decided to switch out into my Tranquil, and this ended up not being the right play. Aerial Ace was hitting really hard and Air Cutter just could not damage it enough, and a critical hit and I would have lost Tranquil, and because it's got Aerial Ace, Girder can't really stop it, and it's got Razor Leaf, so Azumarill can't really stop it either. So this is not looking good. I've got no choice but to switch back into Magby, and hopefully it can take some hits. The good thing is that Aerial Ace wasn't damaging it that much at all. So yeah, I could have easily just destroyed it with Magby from the start, but it gets Flame Body, which that's not that RNG reliant. Aerial Ace would have been a 4-hit KO anyways, and Magby would have probably woken up anyways, and the probability of you getting a Flame Body hacks would have been really good, so yeah, it's destroy the Leavanny, and after that the battle's pretty much over. All he's got left is a Carrot Blast, and that's not going to fret you at all, so yeah, just easy clap after that. So with that done, I feel like the Nuzlocke's getting surprisingly easier now. I will say the difficulty in this game, it's a bit inconsistent, like the difficulty really comes and goes, but at this point it's going to be easy sailing for quite a while. So I move on to the third gym, and that I'm pretty sure will be really easy. It's by far the best type matchup for me. So I catch quite a few Pokemon before the third gym, and I get some really good stuff. I get Impish Nature, Intimidate Sandile, I get a Brave Nature Sandslash, I get a Bold Nature Yamask, which is really good. I really do need to get some good walls, so I really like that. Then I also get a Emolga, which I don't really care about. But in the Hidden Grotto, I do get the Static Minccino with Skill Link, and that's really good, especially because it's Adamant Nature. I won't be using it for a while, but at one point in the game, it will be useful, and I was kind of sleeping on how good it was. It's a really strong mon actually. So, about the third gym, and that ends up being a complete meme. Like, I definitely could have actually underleveled and I still would have won regardless. Basically, I brought Burnt, Silk Scarf, Guts, Eradicate, and it absolutely destroyed her first 3 mons, and it probably could have outsped and one-shot the Zebstrika as well, but to play it safe, I just switched into Servine, and after it uses Leftovers and Leech Seed, it just wins. It was absolute meme, so yeah, move on to the next gym badge from there. There was one tragedy before the next gym fight which irked me a little bit, but ends up really not mattering at all. I lost my Sandslash to this Wild Azumarill because I literally misclicked when I was supposed to switch out, and Like, I was just about to finish grinding that, so it was annoying. But really, I didn't end up needing it for the next gym anyways. It was just a mild setback. So yeah, just finish up grinding, then prepare 4 mons for the next gym battle. And Clay ended up being once again an absolute meme, even more so than the last gym leader. Basically, his repair just swept. Just, yeah, completely swept without any difficulty whatsoever. It one-shotted the leading crocodile, or I guess the pre-evolution Croc Rock, that's what it's called. Even though it was at -1 with Leaf Blade, which is crazy. Then just set up 2 coils, so it's at +1 attack, then just one-shot the rest of the team. It's so bulky that Onyx barely touches it at all. And it even one-shots Excadrill because it gets a critical hit, so yeah, it's such a joke. The other 3 mons in my party didn't matter at all, so yeah. Okay, so I move on to the next gym leader, the Fang type one, and I do catch a few more mons on the way there, though right now none of them are too useful right now, though they probably will be used at some point. And I decided to use a mod to make it so I can evolve my girder, as I'm not able to trade this ROM hack, so Conkeldurr is going to be really good. So the Fang type gym leader I was a little bit anxious about, mainly because she has I don't know what she has, but I think she has a Swanna, and I don't really have too much for it. The 4 mons I decided to bring were Crocodile, the Gigalith that I got in the trade with the Emolga, Azumarill in Cofagrigus, and in Swanna just wrecks 2 of my mons, and I can't really handle it that much. I really need Azumarill to beat it effectively, but I'm going to have to line this up. I think she might lead off with it, or she'll probably lead off with Swoobat like she did in Black and White 1, so I go to challenge her anyways, and this was the first real challenge of the entire run. I just was not ready for this. She led off with Swoobat, so I kind of misplayed with leading off with the Azumarill. I should have led off with Crocodile, but it's okay. I should be able to handle the Swanna, as Azumarill is pretty crazy because it's got a lot of really good EVs by now. But it's a physical Swoobat and it gets a critical hit? Oh, this is not good. Okay, I take it out I guess, but Sigilith was a problem and it started putting mons to sleep, and that was just not nice, but thankfully Crocodile was able to take it out. But the Swanna is in, and I do not have anything for this. It gets a critical hit on my Azumarill and Cofagrigus, and I've got no choice but to sack to it. Unfortunately, Azumarill ended up going down, which is really bad. I also had to sack Gigalith too. I had to sack Azumarill so Gigalith could come in with Sturdy, take a hit, then finish off the Swanna, as I couldn't really risk my Crocodile, because I know she has 1 more mon, and that was just so bad. I am sad about losing Azumarill, but honestly Conkeldurr can do its job just as good, maybe even better. But it's fine, I take it down and I've only got 2 mons left, but her final mon is Skarmory, and that is not good. There was a serious chance I could lose right here because the Skarmory ended up having X-Scissor, and I forgot that Crunch is not very effective against Steel, and Crocodile can just barely damage this, so I have to lose my Crocodile, and all I've got left is Cofagrigus. Honestly, the RNG this battle's been pretty crazy. I've been hit by 2 critical hits when it really mattered, and yeah, I did misplay to be honest, and I could have prepared for this better, but it is what it is. It really looks like I'm going to lose here. But wait, Cofagrigus took a hit? What? It is Bold Nature, and I did make sure to EV train it for HP and defense. It's got some EVs, so it makes it incredibly bulky, and Jesus Christ, it takes a hit, though a critical hit, and I would have whited. But yeah, at this point I just rest, then Will-O-Wisp, and Skarmory just can't touch Cofagrigus anymore. It's just crazy. I somehow won. That was wild, and it was an RNG fest. That's my main issue with 4 versus 4. I really do prefer 6 versus 6, but yeah, it was a big challenge, I guess, and I was pretty complacent. This is what I mean by how the gym leaders and the difficulty in general in this game, it really comes and goes. It makes it pretty unpredictable, and the fact that you don't know what to expect makes it especially unpredictable, so yeah. But you know, I'm just glad I got past that. At least I can sort of replace the zoom roll. Losing Crocodile was kind of a pain, but I can still carry on though. So I move on and make my way to the 7th gym, and I catch a few more mons. I get a Scorupy, which is pretty nice, and I failed to catch as well Bannet, but Bannet would have been too useful. And I also get Frillish and Staryu, but they're not going to be useful at all. I then beat my rival, who is slightly challenging only because my team wasn't really complete at this point, so I didn't have too much for Zembor, but I just move on after that and prepare for the 7th gym. I do catch a Heracross, which is really good encounters. Heracross is really strong, and it will be useful for the Elite Four. It's also got Guts, so I can definitely leverage that to my advantage, so that's something to be happy about. So now it's time for a 7th gym leader, and because of dragon types, I know that he's going to do some dragon dancing shenanigans, so you really cannot afford to let your guard down against him. He can definitely sweep you if he gets the chance. I don't have too many great counters for dragon types. The team that I bring is, I lead off with Guts, Silk Scarf, Poisoned, Raticate with Return. Then I've got my Cofagrigus, which is just a really good physical wall, and it's got Will-O-Wisp. I've got Drapion and Conkeldurr, which I gave it Ice Punch for this. Conkeldurr's Guts, so Sheer Force would be better, but this team should suffice. The battle, you have to line up properly, because ideally I don't want to lose any of these mons, but I don't really want to take a strong hit from his Haxorus, and I know he can set up most likely, so you need to be really careful about that. So what I did for 7 gym leaders, lead off with Raticate, and it one-shots Druddigon, so that's really impressive, and it just falls short of one-shotting Altaria and goes up for Cotton Guard, so that's kind of annoying. But Cofagrigus can easily handle it, as it burns it and it also has haste to basically negate its defense increases, and it's got Nightshade, so it just takes out easily. The best play that I made was that I gave his Cofagrigus Rocky Helmet so Conkeldurr can get leftover. I was kind of expecting to sweep with that, but that ends up not happening, so I should have given the leftovers to Cofagrigus. Had I done that, it would have probably single-handedly destroyed the rest of his team, but oh well. My Raticate can then take out the Flygon, but I definitely made a misplay because my Raticate now is Mummy, and it's not going to deal a lot of damage against that last Haxorus. I mean, even with Guts, it still wouldn't have one-shot it regardless, but yeah, unfortunately Raticate cannot take a Dragon Tail and it goes down. But I can still finish it off with Conkeldurr. This battle was alright. I only lost 1 mon, so it's okay. It could have been a lot worse. But what kind of made this pretty salt-inducing was the fact that you get access to TM Facade after this battle. So yeah, Facade Guts Raticate would have been pretty crazy, but that's unfortunate. So nothing really happened between this and the final gym. So I just skipped straight to the 8th gym battle, and this should be pretty easy because I've got Serperior and that should completely destroy his team. I don't really know what he has. I know he has some Jellicent as his ace. But yeah, I lead off with Serperior and he's got Wailord, so I can easily just handle it. I'll set up a coil, then there's no way it's taking a boosted Leaf Blade, and then it's... What? How? It one-shotted? I know it's a critical hit, but still. Serperior's bulky and Wailord, his attack isn't that high? What? Oh god, this was horrible. After this battle, I went on damage calc, and it turned out that more often than not, Serperior can actually survive a critical hit, but this was a critical hit with just enough of a high roll to one-shot the Serperior, so that was horrible. I was just able to take this out with my Conkeldurr. But then I saw that the gym leader has a Mantine, and at this point I am basically screwed. What followed was basically some of the most obnoxious RNG I've ever seen. I hit myself with confusion 3 times in a row, then my Night Slash Razor Claw Sniper Drapion, which has a 25% chance of getting a critical hit 4 times and did not get a single critical hit, and I just lost. I couldn't really do anything against the final Caracosta, so yeah, I wiped here. So you would think the Nuzlocke is over, but to be honest, because this is a blind run, it's my first time playing the game, and because it's an even harder version of a Hardcore Nuzlocke, like, I'm only going in with 4 mons and I was actually below the level cap. I thought, you know what, I want to see this game through regardless, just because it's my first time playing Black 2, so I will continue the Nuzlocke, but I've got to get a new team, and in before someone gets butthurt saying that's not allowed because they're trying to gatekeep what a Nuzlocke is, even though it's basically just a self-imposed challenge, but never mind. I won't see this game through regardless, and going in with only 4 Pokemon, it really does show just how RNG reliant it is. If I had 2 more mons, the battle would be a lot easier, but yeah. I've got some mons on my PC, but it's not too good. These mons aren't too great, and the rest of the game will be quite hard at this rate. So I'm going to need to assemble a team that can handle this final gym leader, and eventually I come up with something. So I train up some new mons like a Heracross in that Minccino that I had from earlier on. And with that, I go to re-challenge the gym leader, and this time, because I'm no longer blind for this gym leader, I can easily strategize to counter him. So basically I have Expert Belt Cinccino, and I gave it just enough attack EVs so it can one-shot his entire team with Expert Belt. Bullet Seed one-shots 3 of his mons. It's even good against Caracosta because it completely negates his third date, and Rock Blast one-shots the Mantine. I even had Galvantula and Heracross as backup, and they weren't needed at all. I basically won the battle in 4 turns without taking a single hit with Adamant Nature, reasonably EV trained Cinccino with Expert Belt, so yeah, at least that was easy, but good god, the grinding was so not fun, and I've only got 4 mons, I don't have any other trained mons, so for the rest of the game, I'm going to need to train up some more stuff, which is just not going to be fun. The grinding is just not fun in this game, that's my biggest complaint. And unfortunately, I lost that Cinccino shortly after because I didn't really have a counter for an Arcanine, and it got a critical hit with Fire Fang, which is really obnoxious. But yeah, at least I did get a Vanillux as my next encounter, and that will be useful. So I've just got to carry on, and the next thing I need to do is finish off the rest of the plot. So yeah, I have the final few villain battles. The one against Colress was pretty easy. I was pretty over leveled for this, as I only had 5 mons in my party that were trained up, and I thought the opponent levels would be higher since the last gym leader was level 55, but no, these guys were actually below that level, which is kind of weird. I do showcase the Eviolite Magmar, which is really nice actually, because it's got Sassy Nature, and by now it'll have like full EVs. Its stats are actually really good, so it can really take a special hit. And yeah, the Colress fight was pretty easy. The only issue was that Magazone used Explosion and could have gone critical hit, but it didn't, so yeah, the rest of the fight was fine. Getsis was pretty tricky though. Not the Cure in Black, I just got yeeted by Heracross, which is funny. Lel. But the following Getsis fight was pretty hard, mainly because I only had 5 mons and he had 6, so this time I'm actually outnumbered despite being a bit over leveled. His Electros could have destroyed my Heracross if I was not careful, as it had acrobatics and it was still quite a threat. The Hydreigon was really problematic, but my Heracross was just able to take it out. But then, unfortunately, because he had too many mons, I had to sack someone against the final Toxicroak. So it had to be Galvantula, but honestly, Galvantula is just expendable. It would not have been useful for the Elite Four anyway, so it is what it is. Now it's time for the end of the game, and I have an idea of what the Elite Four has, because I've played Black and White 1, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to need some really good mons. I've particularly got a big weakness to fighting, so that's a big issue. But for my second last encounter, the encounter before Victory Road, I get a Lullaby, and that is really good. That's exactly what I needed. It's a really good wall for my team, so I can at least take a few hits, so that's really good. And this is fine, but I still need more. Ideally, I need one more wall for the Elite Four. And there are no more encounters, seemingly, but I looked at the map, and I realised that there was one place that I haven't actually got an encounter yet, and that is Verbank City. Like, I got my Maccabee from Verbank Complex, but in the city itself, now that I've got Surf, I can actually get something from the water, so I go in the water, and because I've already got Frillish, I can just manipulate to get a Loma Mola. Now that is really good. That's exactly the encounter I need. This Loma Mola was calm nature and it had max defense IVs and pretty good HP, so yeah, very good physical wall, and that's going to be really useful, so I'm really happy about that. So I've got something for the end of the game now. I've got 2 good walls, so I can probably focus on making Mandibuzz EV training to be more specially defensive, so buy a lot of Zinks for it, and instead of EV training too much, what I do is I do spend all my remaining money on getting vitamins like HP ups and irons and such, just to make them stronger for the Elite Four. So now I just need to clear out Victory Road. But before the final battle, one more tragedy hit. I wasn't really prepared for the final battle against you, and that ended up just completely destroying me. I didn't have a great special wall at this point, as I still wasn't really finished training up my team, and I got destroyed by the Simper. My Heracross missed Mega Horn, took a critical hit, and went down, so that is really bad, as Heracross was very strong. And yeah, I did add Zoroark to my team, and the Zoroark is the free gift one that you get, and it's pretty amazing as it's got perfect IVs in every stat and its hasty nature, and because I got the power lens, I can EV train it for max special attack really easily, so it's just, the Zoroark is just insane, so that's a really good special attacker, though it's a bit of a glass cannon, though the max IVs definitely help. I was able to take out the final Emboar, but I had to sack Dugong, unfortunately, but to be honest, Dugong was really expendable. It didn't have good IVs, and it was mild nature, so it wouldn't have been helpful anyways, but it's just the fact that I wasted a lot of time grinding that was annoying, but yeah, it is what it is. But at least after that, I can finally go to the Elite Four, so I just need to do another grinding session before that. So I need to do one last grinding session. So I focus on grinding up the Loma Mola. I give it 10 irons and 10 HP ups, and then I grind it up against Audinos to give it even more HP EVs, as Loma Mola is going to be insane. Then I also grind up Vanillux, and I'm going to need that, as I do know that there are going to be dragon types in the champion. I don't know exactly what's there, but I expect things like probably Hydreigon and Haxorus and such, so for my Vanillux to outspeed, I'm going to have to give it quite a few speed EVs, and also give it just enough special attack so with Extra Belt it can one-shot even the bulkiest dragons with Ice Beam. So yeah, I finish up my grinding, and this is the final team that I settled on. So Loma Mola is obviously first, and it's an insane physical wall. I decided to go for a Toxic Stalling set. I know like it's not the best thing, but because the Elite Four, from my knowledge, they only have one full restore, it is viable. And Loma Mola, it's not really a good offensive mon anyways, but it's an incredibly good physical defender, especially because of Leftovers, Protect, Wish, and even get some Scald and Toxic, so it can really stall physical attackers for days. Really good. Next mon is Mandibuzz, and that's also a really good defensive mon. It's got really good EVs and IVs. Roost allows it to really stall out, and I also give it Toxic, so it can also do that as well if it wants. Next mon is like Vanillux, which I mentioned, and it just pretty much use Ice Beam in attack, pretty much. I had to replace Heracross with something from my PC, and I had barely anything left. The real issue was that I had a really big fighting weakness on my team, so I needed something for that offensively, and I decided to just say screw it and use Swanna. It's really not the best thing, but at this point I really don't have any good attackers left on my team, so yeah. Zoroark, this thing will be absolutely insane because of its IVs and insane special attack and his ability to use nasty plot, and turned out I actually found ways to abuse disguise, so yeah, that was really good. And Magmar, it's really nice seeing Magmar here. It's really not a mon you'd expect to be really good, but it just is, so that was really surprising. So yeah, with this team I go to challenge the Elite Four, and as you can see, my team is really bad against fighting types, especially because I know that most fighting types also have rock coverage, so I am not very well prepared for fighting types, so I need to beat him first. I'm going to have to try and just destroy his team with my Alomomola, so hopefully that works. So I take on the fighting type Elite Four member first, and so far Alomomola is just destroying him. It Toxic Stalls Fro completely, even wastes his full restore, and I think Fro has guts, but even then Stormfro is just not dealing a lot of damage. I can just use Wish, Protect, and just heal up completely. The only issue is that PP is probably going to become an issue at this point. But next thing is Mienfao, and this thing, I should have healed up more, but I didn't really have too much time to waste because of my limited PP, and it uses U-turn, which is actually a really good play for me. But Conkeldurr comes in and it gets toxicked. So I should be able to handle this. I need to just attack it with Scald straight away instead of using Protect, because I am scared that thing could use Bulk Up, and if it uses Bulk Up then I've got no reliable counter for it. But it ended up being Guts. It used Hammer Arm, and it was a critical hit. And it was just enough to beat Alomomola in one shot. Oh my god. I really panicked after that. That was horrible. Oh god. That was the worst time to get hit with a critical hit. The misplay was that if my Alomomola was at full HP completely, it had been a little bit more patient, I probably would have been able to take the Hammer Arm because its defense is that high. But yeah, I seriously thought I was going to lose. I did not think I could win at this point. I was completely demoralized and really tilted. At least Swanna with Expert Belt was just able to take out the Conkeldurr with Brave Bird. But now Sok is in next, and that thing is really scary as I know it's got Sturdy and I've got nothing for it. The chances of me winning are not very good, and I've got no choice but to risk Mandibuzz because it's the only thing that can reliably handle it. Luckily it manages to Toxic Stall it because its physical defense is really high and it's got really good IVs. And with combination of Toxic and Roost, I can stall it with Sok, though a critical hit or a flinch at the wrong point and it would have went down. So I got incredibly unlucky against the Conkeldurr, but I guess the luck I got against the Sok kind of makes up for that, so I am grateful for that. The really big annoying issue is that Mandibuzz sped tied with the Sok, and that was incredibly annoying. Also, like, Mandibuzz got outsped every time because I can use, if I outspeed, I can use Roost to heal up all my HP and remove the rock weakness, so Rock Slide will barely damage me, but I only outsped it once, then Sok outsped me like 6 times, which is really annoying. But, you know, I'm not complaining, just the mere fact that I was able to beat the Sok was enough. Mienfao's in next, and this thing, had it gone a high jump kick, critical hit, it would have knocked out Mandibuzz, but it ended up missing, knocking itself out, and I just used Roost, but I would have taken another high jump kick anyways, as long as it wasn't a crit, so yeah, at least the bad luck before has been cancelled out. And last up is Lucario, and Eviolite Magmar can just roast it, which is really cool. I like how Magmar is actually contributing here, that's pretty cool. Next up is the Psychic type Elite Four. I was really demoralized after that Alomomola loss, and I really don't know if I can beat the champion at this point. I really start to panic and get anxious, but I've got to continue regardless. I do know that the Psychic type Elite 4 member should be really easy. So what I do is I lead off with Zoroark and I use Illusion, because I know it can't really take a Focus Blast. So I need to use Illusion to copy Swanna so they won't use a Fighting type move. And then what I can just do is just set up one Nasty Plot, then one shot the entire team. Also, the fact that the Zoroark is from a trade means that it's actually leveling up ridiculously quickly, and it ends up really over leveling during the Elite 4 because Zoroark just levels up so quickly and they put in so much work, but there's really not much I can do about that. So yeah, at least that was an easy Elite 4 member. Next up was also a tricky one. That was a Dark type user. So you've got Liepard, that was an issue, Magmar destroys it easily. Then Swanna can just one-shot the Scrafty, as I do have a slight level advantage in Expert Belt, which is good. Now, the next Mon, Absol, that thing was really dicey and there was a lot of RNG involved. I could have lost my Mandibuzz. This could have gone really badly because it set up a Swords Dance. Theoretically, Mandibuzz can wall it out, but the problem is, this Absol, it used Swords Dance, and just like before, it was another speed tie, which was really obnoxious. This was bad because sometimes I would outspeed, use Roost, but then X-Scissor would be super effective, which is really bad, so that was just obnoxious. I couldn't stall it out because of it, and a critical hit and I would have lost Mandibuzz. But luckily, Magmar was able to switch in. Because it's got Eviolite and pretty good defenses, it can take the X-Scissor pretty well, then just two-shot it with Flamethrower, so that was really nice. Thankfully the Absol did not have like Sucker Punch, though I would have been able to take it regardless unless it was a crit. But then after that, the rest of the Elite 4 is just easy. Vanillux can then take a Earthquake, does less than 50% to just one-shot the Crocodile. Magmar destroys Bisharp, and yeah, it's just an easy win from there on, but it's just that Absol was a threat, and I could have gone unlucky, but the speed tie was really obnoxious, so yeah. Final Elite 4 member was an absolute joke. Same as with the Psychic one, just Zoroark, Nasty Plot, Sweep, that's it. Really anticlimactic. So now it's time for the champion, and I do not know if I can handle this. And good god, this was by far the craziest battle of the whole Nuzlocke. So yeah, I've only got 5 Mons. I am at a big disadvantage. I don't know exactly what she's got on her team. But yeah, here goes nothing. So the battle starts off well. She leads off with Hydreigon and I lead off with Vanillux, knowing that she's got Dragon types, and luckily, because it turns out I'm actually slightly over leveled, I thought the champion would be a higher level, but I can now actually outspeed and just one-shot the Hydreigon. If levels were equal, I might have just fallen short, but yeah, that's a really good start. But next up is Aggron. And oh god, this was absolutely ludicrous. I did not have a counter for this at all, and I would be forced to at least sack one Mon conventionally, but I came up with a way to stop it. I just barely managed to switch in Mandibuzz, and it was just able to take a head smash from Aggron. I would have to sack something regardless, because nothing is taking a hit from that, and what I do is I just spam Roost to heal up HP, and then it's no longer weak against head smash. And I guess the rationale behind that is that you can TP stall the Aggron. As it turned out, it only had 5 head smashes and it can miss quite easily, but thankfully I do not get hit by a single critical hit. Then I successfully Roost stall the Aggron until it runs out of head smashes, which is absolutely crazy. So yeah, it can only use Double Edge now, and that's not going to damage my Mandibuzz, but my Mandibuzz isn't going to damage it that much either. So because it doesn't have Head Smash, I switch into Magmar, and yeah, it doesn't have Earthquake, and I do manage to burn it. I mean, I would have Will-O-Wisped it anyway, so that didn't really matter, but yeah, my Magmar can easily tank it now that it's burnt. But now I've got two options here. I can win this battle now, it's back in my control. I can stay in with Magmar and finish it off with Flamethrower. But the problem is, other dragon types are going to come in, and then Magmar's going to be absolutely screwed. And I'm going to have to switch out, and it could use Dragon Dance and Sweep, and I don't want that. But I've got another option, it's a bit risky, but what I do is I know I can take a hit. Well, and even if Magmar goes down, I guess it's a necessary sacrifice. Now that Aggron's burnt, I also confuse it. So this allows Zoroark to switch in pretty safely. It ends up that Aggron just never hit itself in confusion regardless, but because of the burn, Zoroark can take a hit from it because of its max IVs, despite being hasty. And it sets up a nasty plot, and it sweeps. Yeah, it just one-shots the rest of our team. Because it's hasty nature, there's no way Archeops can outspeed. And yeah, the battle's just over. That was pretty crazy, that was really unexpected, and honestly the battle could have gone either way, especially with the first and third Elite Four battle. These battles were so dicey, and one critical hit at the wrong time, I would have been completely screwed. But at the same time, that kind of made up for the fact that Alolan Moore got hit by a critical hit. So yeah. So that's the Nuzlocke finished. It was pretty crazy, and I will say, like, doing this extra hardcore Nuzlocke, it made Nuzlocking the base game worth it. It made it actually challenging, and the fact that I was blind and didn't look up the docs made it more fun. Is the fact that you don't know what to expect makes it so you have to kind of like plan for hypotheticals a lot more, and keeps you on your toes, but at the same time it does add a lot of RNG, especially with the 4 versus 4 rule. But yeah, that's the game finished. It's pretty crazy. And with that, that's pretty much the video over. I'll be doing more stuff in the future. I'll be doing a lot of Twitch streams from now on. I'll be Twitch streaming Emerald Kaizo, and after that, I might go back to Fire Red Omega. I would like to play Sacred Gold, and I think I'll probably play the current version instead of waiting for the remastered version of, or I guess the remake of Sacred Gold, because who knows when that's going to come out. Then eventually I will play Blaze Black 1 and 2, though I won't take a wee break from Gen 5 until then. So yeah, whatever I do, I will see you guys soon. This is Ding Dong, signing out.